From Washington, D.C., let's shift our focus to America's friend across the pond, the Great Britain, where the state of affairs is not that great, frankly speaking. More than 47,000 businesses are on the brink of collapse, and the British Prime Minister, Mr. Fix-It, cannot fix it. The UK economy is in the threat of recession. Its Prime Minister vowed to halve inflation and grow the economy, yet data collected in the final 3 months of 2023 shows that there has been a 25% jump in firms facing financial distress. This is the second consecutive quarter-on-quarter period when this has happened. Insolvency specialists released this data in their latest red flag report. It is as ominous as that sounds. More and more firms in London are on the brink of collapse than anywhere else in the country. The construction and property sectors seem to be the most hit, followed by the health and education sector. In 18 out of 22 sectors, there was double-digit growth in financial distress. Means most companies have reached critical condition. It is all thanks to a perfect storm of rising interest, soaring costs and faltering consumer confidence. 2023 was a difficult year for British businesses, and now every corner of the economy is suffering. How did they get here? To understand that, we have to go back to 2021, when the Bank of England raised interest rates from 0.1% to 5.25%. The goal was to tame inflation. That significantly increased cost of borrowing for British businesses. The hundreds of thousands of businesses that loaded up on affordable debt are now coming to terms with the added burden on their finances. Sadly for them, 2024 will be a fight for survival. Last year, the number of firms going bust had already reached the highest level since the great financial crisis of 2008. A big chunk of these firms are now sending the alarm signals. They are the ones expected to collapse over the next year, and this is adding to expectations that a recession in the UK is imminent. The next obvious question is, what is the UK government doing about this? Well, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has set out 5 priorities. 1. Halve inflation. 2. Grow the economy. 3. Reduce debt. 4. Cut waiting lists. 5. Stop the boats. In the first week of this year, he promised, and I'm quoting, "I fully expect to hold my government and I to account on delivering those goals." So I ask you, how has he fared so far? Let's take a look. His government's top priority was halving inflation by the end of 2023. In the 3-month period between October and December 2022, inflation was at 10.7%. So the aim was to reduce inflation to 5.3%. The government actually claimed to have met its target, when the monthly inflation figure for the year to October was 4.6%. But has there been any growth? Latest monthly figures for November show there has been very little growth in 2023. The quarterly figures show the economy grew 0.3% in the first 3 months of 2023. It had zero growth in the next 3 months. Then it shrank 0.1% between July and September. It seems the pledge to grow the economy only has been made more difficult by the UK government's promise to halve inflation. The Bank of England put up interest rates 14 times to stop prices rising so quickly. This reduces spending and slows down economic growth. And let's not forget, the UK government's debt also remains high. The latest figures for December showed that the government debt stood at 97.7% of the size of the economy. Sunak has often been projected as a problem solver. That's how he's been portrayed to the public since he arrived in Downing Street. But with the writing on the wall, Sunak, it seems, faces a bleak economic backdrop in the expected 2024 elections in the United Kingdom. Why do you send your kids to school? To gain knowledge, choose a career path, learn new concepts. Tonight, I'll give you another reason. Send your kids to school so that they can live longer. A new study has made some interesting observations. It says every year spent in school or university improves your life expectancy. It says not attending school is as deadly as smoking or heavy drinking. This, according to a systematic study directly linking education to gains in longevity of life. Let me explain more about this research. The analysis has been peer-reviewed and published in the Lancet Public Health Journal. It used evidence from industrialized countries like the United Kingdom and the United States, along with developing countries such as China and Brazil. The study found that an adult's risk of mortality went down by 2% for every year that she spent receiving full-time education. The risk of death was lowered by 34%. The study establishes more links between education and health. If you complete primary, secondary and tertiary education, it was equivalent to a lifetime of eating a healthy diet. In fact, you may think I'm exaggerating when I say this next part, but believe you me, this is what the study says. Not attending school at any point is as bad as consuming excessive alcohol or smoking 10 cigarettes a day for a decade. Yes, education is a right. This is not news. But what does a life of study have to do with longevity of life? Well, it's simple, really. A well-rounded education is a ticket to a better life. More opportunities, higher income, access to better housing, a better lifestyle, a better diet. So naturally, all this will add many more years to your life. But here's a thought. Note the timing of this study. Let's analyze the state of affairs in the United Kingdom. We've already told you about them. Now, UK is one of the countries which form the focus of this study. England currently is struggling to keep children in school. Data from last year shows an alarming trend. The number of students not completing a university course in England, Wales and Northern Ireland is up to its highest recorded level. The number went from 32,491 in 2018-19 to 41,630 in 22-23. Now, that's a rise of more than 9,000. So why are students refusing to seek higher studies? 1. Poor mental health. 2. Financial distress. You see, the high tuition fee followed by the pressure to pay off student loans is dissuading students from studying more. So while a study linking education and longevity of life is great, but it will take much more than that to keep students in school. Answer this. Will a higher education lead to a better standard of living in today's United Kingdom? We all know about the UK's miserable housing crisis, its crippling cost of living crisis. Will educated people have access to affordable housing? Will an expensive degree guarantee a big fat salary to survive the crushing cost of living currently in the UK? So to sum it up, we welcome the study for stating the obvious. Study more, live longer. Unfortunately, like all research, it fails to tell us how to beat the odds. How to get that dream job in a market where there are very few jobs. How to afford basic amenities when costs are through the roof. How to buy that dream house amid a housing crisis. Once we have those answers, I'm certain we'll all be going back to school. It was the biggest hit of 2023. Not just a movie, it was a pop culture phenomenon. A blockbuster. Helmed by a visionary young female director and brought to life by a brilliant actress and producer. It changed the movie business as we knew it. More importantly, it changed the conversation about how we talk about women in society. I'm talking about the movie Barbie. The Oscar nominations are out. Barbie is going to be the biggest Hollywood party of the year. But the one playing the Barbie, it seems, isn't invited. The movie has been nominated for Best Picture and 8 other awards, but 2 of the most prominent voices of the movies, the forces behind the movie, that is director Greta Gerwig and actress Margot Robbie, were snubbed in their respective categories. Naturally, fans are angry, but we'll get to that in a moment because there is someone who is more disappointed than the fans. It is actor Ryan Gosling, or Barbie's Ken, from the movie. Gosling has been nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but he's not all that pleased. He said he was honored to be nominated, but there is no Ken without Barbie and no Barbie movie without Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie. In a statement to American media, the actor said, and I quote, "No recognition would be possible for anyone on the film without their talent, grit and genius. To say that I'm disappointed that they are not nominated in their respective categories would be an understatement. Against all odds, with nothing but a couple of soulless, scantily clad and thankfully crotchless dolls, they made us laugh, they broke our hearts, they pushed the culture, and they made history. Their work should be recognized along with the other very deserving nominees." He's not wrong. For those of us who have watched the movie Barbie, the Oscar snub for Gerwig and Robbie came as a bolt from the blue. After all, how many billion-dollar blockbuster feminist comedy movies does one have to make before the Oscars recognize your achievement with a nomination? Apparently, if you are a woman, that's not even a criteria. Netizens have been quick to point out the irony in all of this. This is a movie about how women are constantly sidelined, yet the women who made the movie were sidelined at the awards. One fan said, "Ken getting nominated and not Barbie is honestly so fitting for a film about a man discovering the power of patriarchy in the real world." Fans expressed their outrage also over the fact that Ken was nominated but not Barbie. Now, this is literally the plot of the movie. What added fuel to fire is that in the same categories, Gerwig and Robbie's male counterparts, Christopher Nolan and Cillian Murphy, received nominations for their work on Oppenheimer. Nolan's blockbuster movie got 30 nominations. It is in prime position to win many awards. And so fans have highlighted how Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie were as crucial for the success of Barbie as Nolan and Murphy for the success of Oppenheimer. Imagine if the men in this case were deemed not Oscar-worthy. You can't even imagine that, and that's precisely my point. This is the reality highlighted in the movie. Bottom line is this: the absence of Gerwig and Margot Robbie in their respective categories is glaring, puzzling, ironic, and sad. If it were up to us, we'd say that a movie which shows how hard women have to be, how hard they have to work to be recognized, has more gravitas than some others made by and about men.